Hey everyone, I'm Brandon Frazen, Director of Vintage here at Bob's Watches, and welcome to another episode of Vintage of the Week. For this episode of Vintage of the Week, we have a beautiful Omega Speedmaster reference 105.003-65, which is the model that many collectors refer to as the Ed White. But before we go any further, let's do a quick wrist check. Today I'm wearing a Rolex reference 1680, circa 1978, with a beautiful faded bezel and nice patina. Let me know what you're wearing down in the comments. Back to this week's Vintage of the Week. Originally created in 1957 as a sports chronograph, the Speedmaster was intended for the world of automotive racing. The Omega Speedmaster is easily one of the most iconic watches of all time. It was the first model to move the tachymeter scale from the dial of the watch to the external bezel, which set the standard for countless other watches, including the Rolex Daytona. The Omega Speedmaster 105.003 was produced for a handful of years during the mid to late 1960s. Its nickname, Ed White, comes from the famous NASA astronaut Edward White II, who wore one during the Gemini 4 mission, where he became the first American to walk in space on June 3, 1965. Although it isn't the very first Speedmaster, the Ed White is easily one of the most important because it was the exact model that survived NASA's rigorous series of testing and forever earned the Speedmaster the distinction as being flight qualified for all manned space missions. As for the details of this particular example, this watch is a reference 105.003-65 and dates to approximately 1967. Since it's an earlier iteration of Omega's classic moonwatch, it features a slightly smaller case at 38mm with straight lugs and no crown guards, rather than the asymmetrical twisted lug case that can be found on the later versions of the Speedmaster Professional, which is 42mm. The 105.003 is powered by the caliber 321 movement. Some of the rarest and most collectible vintage Omega Speedmasters are ones from the 1950s and 60s and powered by this movement. Enthusiasts gravitate towards a 321 because of its historical significance and robust design. The case of this watch remains in excellent, honest overall condition with normal signs of wear. A nice detail that's been well preserved over the years is the double beveled edge on the caseback. It also has retained its original dot over 90 bezel that has faded over the years from natural wear and use, giving it a great look. Additionally, the matte black dial is also in excellent condition with light patina. It features an applied Omega logo at 12, along with tritium lume on its hour markers that too have developed patina. The patina on the lume in the hands is slightly lighter than the hour markers, while the lume on the minute hand has developed a couple cracks. This ultimately adds to the character and helps create an unmistakably vintage overall appearance. Completing the look and feel is the flat link 1035 bracelet with some wear, which is normal. It looks pretty great for being over 50 years old, and the elastic links are still intact. The Omega Speedmaster is without a doubt a legendary watch, and the reference 105.003 Ed White is a true classic. It represents an excellent example of the Speedmaster watches that were being used by NASA during the pioneering days of human space travel. Lastly, remember that just like every timepiece we feature on Vintage of the Week, this exact watch will be available for purchase directly on our website. Check it out over on bobswatches.com/vintage. Don't forget to check back next week to see what standout vintage watch will feature then. Bye!